Yeah, so that's where the arrow is pointing. Figured, right?
Oh,
Just a look
I
at the
love
arrows.
That's why you had Apple. Okay, folks, meeting's now being recorded. We're bringing together the Senior Community Building Committee meeting on November 11th, 12th. I think the meeting is recorded. We have all of the board members here and alternate for the remote and another individual. Karen. So why don't we start as we normally do? We have the minutes that Peg graciously got out for us, and they're very good, Peg.
Thank you. We're voting on 2 minutes actually, because
Oh, the right.
the last meeting was at the town hall. We need 10:15 and 10:20.
Well, let's do 10:15. We have a motion for 10:15.
So,
Second. All in favor?
aye.
Aye. Then the other one was
10:28.
28.
I'll make a motion to accept.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, good. Okay, folks, we lost by 1%. And the need's still here. At the meeting of select board, we talked about the need and what are the next steps and where do we go from there. Some of us thought about different ideas. I asked the select board to look at some things. The need's not going to go away, so we need to figure out something. Chief, you had some ideas and thoughts that you wanted to discuss. I know you got to leave at 7 for a quick call or something.
Yeah, I mean, we can see if anybody else has anything real quick and then.
Any other thoughts from anyone else? It sounds like I look at the economy, I look at asking for anybody for money at this point. I don't think it flies. I don't know where to go from here exactly, just brainstorm potentially.
Well, I was going to bring up at the COA tomorrow that we have to have some additional parking where we are. It's dangerous. It's getting even more dangerous with the bad weather coming in.
Agreed.
We had the veterans breakfast and a lot of us parked across the street. And I know you guys did a lot of crossing, but they're not there every day.
Yeah, parking's an issue. It's always,
I'm going to raise it tomorrow.
if nothing else, it's delayed. So as further as delayed, we need to address some of the, good point, we need to address the immediate needs in the building because they're immediate.
Okay, we'll have a few.
And there'll be a few. And the parking, there was an acre parcel next to the place that originally
I
identified.
think it's like diamond shaped. It's kind of an odd shape, but for parking, it would be sufficient.
Could be. Could be. And you have some other ideas you can bring up the council on aging tomorrow?
Yeah, I'd rather not bring them up tonight, though. I'd rather put them to the council first.
Okay. Let's just go around the table. How's our construction guy? Mike, what do you think?
Well, unfortunately, like you say, it's 1%. I don't know what the procedure is. Keep bringing it back. That will irritate a lot of people. If you're going to get to what don't you understand about no? And there's no denying that the need is still there. So, frankly, what does the Board of Selectmen think about it?
Oh, I'll have my turn. You can keep going.
Well,
I think this is now.
You're next.
Yeah, so. Well, we talked about this last meeting. I don't think as a board we go to one together. I believe we've got to come up with alternative solutions. It doesn't go away. I'm happy to bring it back, but as is, any price point close to what it is, I'm not comfortable with that, but I am looking. I think we have opportunities. And Chief and I talked about a couple of things to, go back to the drawing board, not all the way back, but rethink, it's got to be less from a cost standpoint.
We knew that.
Right.
We did know that.
So I think we've got to, I would say everything's back on the table in terms of location, what it has, what it doesn't have at the select board meeting. Jason brought up the fact that maybe we need to carve out pieces like emergency management and have that house somewhere else. You know what I mean? Things like that. So I just think we've got to kind of take a step back and kind of rethink, identify the needs and make sure the needs can be parsed separately. They need to travel together one way or the other. But I mean, I think as is, everything it does today may need to be broken up a little bit. I think there's different things we could look at from a town perspective. I think there's synergies with other capital projects that aren't even coming up yet that we should probably look at if it's a possibility. But I have no issue bringing it back. The need's there. An alternative solution should be brought forward from a board perspective because the need's there. It doesn't go away. I'm not comfortable bringing back the same solution as is. That twice I think is enough for that
Agreed.
solution.
The only issue, Mike, on that thought is, I'm concerned that anything over $1 at a town meeting in taxes is an issue for the voters. And
Mendon is historically very conservative.
well, I'm just,
So, I mean, I think anytime you're looking at sort of large investments, I think we talked about the police station and fire stations, it takes, multiple run throughs,
that means another full-blown design and go back to, not back to zero, but back many steps for 3-4 months.
Yeah, but I think think about it, the design has not been the issue since last spring. We've tweaked it at best. This last go around and redesign of cutting out $1 million. He erased a couple walls, redid there wasn't a lot of work there in my mind, aside from pricing it again. But, so a lot of the programmatic operational things still
Right.
holds true. So a lot of that legwork's not gone to waste. Now we're
Agreed.
saying, what do we look at the current space again? Yeah, is there an opportunity to leverage some of the highway space for parking?
There is.
Contiguous? What if there is?
What if there
I'm
is?
asking questions. You know what I mean? If they're literally contiguous and it's a question of, I don't know if it makes sense or not, but.
There's like a brook or something there, isn't there? I'm just thinking of the conservation people.
Yeah, no, but I mean, you can,
Fill it in overnight.
well, I guess what else,
You're only taking.
I guess my point is to, what about a design that's single level? In the new location, that's more campus style versus a multi-story building that requires elevator and access and things like that. I don't know.
Didn't he say it was the grade of the land, though, that's why he went
Well-
with that for the price, that it would be more inexpensive?
Maybe it's spread out more, yes, but
I think what Mike's saying is perhaps you look at the space instead of coming this way, horizontally rather than vertically.
and I'm just guessing. I mean, I would defer to Mike. Mike, he's probably laughing at me right now. I can't see him.
That's good. I'm gonna look that.
But my point would be, I think we sort of locked in. We gave it a good go twice. I have no problem with that. But now I think we got to take a step back and say, what are the alternatives?
Well, I think, jump back in, you brought up some good points, Mike. We brought it back, we really didn't change the design. Shrunk it a little bit. So I think the next step is we gotta reload, find a different location. And basically a single-story building, like you said, very plain, because that's the most inexpensive. And a lot of the things that we wish we could have are not going to be included.
So we're
Yep.
dropping the community center then, we're just focusing on a senior center. No, I'm asking.
Well, and that's what maybe, I'm just saying, I don't want to rush to conclusions of what we're saying.
We're not-
Right, but
Yeah, but we're rethinking.
what we gotta do is this a couple more times to go, okay, what do you think? I think we go with a square box design, one floor.
Yeah.
So that, and take care of our immediate needs for the seniors.
And I
And
mean,
design it so that in the future, after we're gone, somebody can add on this way or that way. I think that's important to consider, but right now,
I just think we have to rethink.
we gotta go with a simple design, square box. Everything will be new.
The other thing we should think about too is there's at least 2 or 3 other projects I've heard people talk about that call out the same needs. Somebody doesn't have conference space, conference rooms. They should have conference rooms in that building. This design delivered conference room, which I looked at and said, well, does the senior center really need a conference room? Well, it could be used, but I wonder if there's other things out there. Everyone needs more storage. You know what I mean? So I think we also, from the town perspective, we need to look across the different asks that we know we started to collect and say, are there synergies? And are they viable? And see where that takes us.
As we go down this course, and I know, Peg, you're gonna bring this up at tomorrow's meeting.
Yeah,
But there, just to be noted at this meeting, that there's major things that we need to invest in at that current facility to bring it up to some speed, like a parking lot, like better potentially handicap accessing. I'm waiting for the fine data. I still go back to that woman who wrote me that email, and that wasn't a bunch of smoke. She can't get there because her wheelchair won't make all the turns to get in the building.
a lady had difficulty too on the stairs going to the second floor last week.
So, but there are some things that we need to, I think if we're gonna do that, we need, because this is gonna drag on, this is gonna go on for another bit of time. We're not back to square zero, but if we're looking at sites, that's engineering work. Because there's capacity, there's septic, there's well.
Oh, yeah, we're another year away.
Yeah.
Be quite honest.
Yeah, I would agree with Mike.
So, like I say, I think we reevaluate different sites. Go with a very plain design. It's for the seniors, no one else. Again, we don't need a huge conference room because how many conferences? Let's take care of our needs for the seniors. So that the senior citizens in this town, which is me, you, can go there and relax.
Pretty close, right?
He'll get there.
Borderline.
By the time we get there,
By the time we get there. Yeah, I'm working for my future.
But you know what I mean? So we went twice. It was, again, a small margin, but again, we gotta go with what the people said.
so the thing, they mentioned it, spoke. I agree with Mike.
I mean, I'll still fight for it, but we've got to scale way back, okay? You don't want a community center. You don't want it to be a hub and be able to have emergency centers and et cetera there. It's for the seniors. We can go and play cards.
Mahjong.
We're getting about that old. We can enjoy a senior center if we would build one.
And again, a square box, straight walls, concrete, it's cheap. It's cheap.
Question.
And
That
to the
doesn't
point
sound
on
well.
current needs, I would separate and have Amy work directly with Jeremy on any current issues in the existing space as you would normally.
That's fine. We can do that.
Just
Actually,
separate from this effort versus day to day.
all I'm mentioning that from the standpoint you're talking about cost, there is cost that's going to hit the board. But that's a separate effort. It's going to come out of the COA.
What?
COA and Amy is going to put that to Jeremy.
Right.
Because as an advisory,
Not a champ, it's not a project.
Right, I know that.
but anyway, Amy's going to bring it forward. You're right, two different areas. But on this one, Mike, we go back to bots. The question I have is, we're going to go back and investigate land possibilities besides what we've looked at. The current space, North Avenue configured differently, other flat spaces in town.
I hope
We have-
you're not thinking Morrison. I've been hearing that like so many times.
Well, I was just gonna say, we should rethink that area. There's some land there. The fire department doesn't need that whole big parking lot.
But is
So
there
we
another way out? See, that's what concerns me. I don't want to have to drive by the fire department doors. I mean, it just.
I kind of like that location, just maybe a different configuration.
Is it Morrison though? Isn't that an easement to get into is it paddock property?
It's like
That we just
landlocked or
purchased?
something, isn't it? Landlocked?
I think people have referred to Morrison as a place for possible parking to allow for recreational use of paddock.
Okay.
But that was a person's idea. That's not necessarily written in stone.
There are tons of ideas out there. Okay,
But again, I can't stress it enough. We gotta scale it right back to pure and simple. And when we finally come up with what we want, it's gonna be basic. It's gonna be generic. And when we try to, for lack of a better term, sell it again, we're gonna explain, because people are gonna say, oh, well, why did you do this the first time? Then you explain, well, the first time we thought we could expand this, organ, this, and this, but the people said, no, not once, but twice. We got the message. Here we are. The need is here. Let's take care of our senior citizens. Let's give them a place where they can go. You know what? Civil defense is on their own. Simple.
and my only other message to that, just because in spite of me, and I agree with you wholeheartedly to do this, go that way, is that I'm also like to present at that, in my own personal view, that we're gonna spend another 5 to 10, $15 million in a 5 to 10 year period afterwards, because it's gonna be just big enough or smaller than we need. We're gonna do a typical Mendon, I guess is what I'm telling you.
Which is,
Maybe we need to do it.
they've been doing it for 400 years, so.
I guess you're right.
But again, when we design it, a square box design, simple design,
Outbuilding, so you can build out.
and so you can, in the future, add on.
Our kids can do that.
Exactly right.
What are we gonna do about the town meeting?
That's over.
We're gonna pass it.
I think
That was a-
when we go to pass over it, we get up and explain, the issue's not dead, but we are gonna scale back and we sell the basic idea. The need is here.
Oh, absolutely, I agree.
And then, but you know what? And I'm sure we'll have a little more sophistication, but we're gonna basically say, civil defense is on their own. Every other organization that we were hoping to include in this, they're on their own. We need something for the X amount of seniors that we have and the potential of X amount of seniors coming.
And we view this as a very high priority.
And I just want to point out, I appreciate where he's coming from. It's still one man's opinion right now. I'm not.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm on that page, exactly. I
Absolutely.
think there's other things we can explore where maybe not 100% of all functions are going to be serviced out of the solution, but
No one's
some,
on.
like food pantry, things like that.
Yeah.
Right? But the gist, Mike, I agree. You skip. Explain it. So at the last board meeting, we talked about it. We hadn't decided, we'll probably decide on next week that, but I expect that we'll pass over it with the opportunity, as Elena had, that making sure we're clear on, to speak on the, it's not going away. It'll come back, just not at the FTM this way.
Right. Yeah, I think we need to check with the town moderator about the process, but I think generally, even when you pass,
No,
when you
we,
make a motion to pass over, there's some
Yeah, yeah.
discussion.
yeah, no, they can raise your hand, you get to speak to it.
Well, that's right. That's what Mike's saying is that the discussion's gonna be explaining the skill and
Right,
need.
Yeah.
Right,
We're
that's what
listening,
that's what I'm saying.
and we're going back to the drawing.
That's
Reaching to the
what-
fire right there. She was
I was.
adding to the board last week saying,
That's what
we
I was
will make sure they know
But
it's
I
not going
I
away.
did suggest that it's good to check in with the town moderator to make sure, because it's up to him where the discussion, like how much discussion there can be.
Well, we have the meeting drive on, which is Tuesday or Thursday next week. No, when is it?
What's that, the walkthrough or
Walkthrough is this Thursday.
Thursday? Yeah.
We'll check with him during the walkthrough. But I think it's appropriate that this, with almost 50% of the vote, it's appropriate to afford this thing at least 5 or 10 minutes for the discussion. Maybe it's only 2 minutes.
It's a big deal.
I don't think we do.
Yeah, I think as long as we resist it, to have everybody.
You know, but town meetings for the people. If there's enough people in the audience, they will tell the moderator what they want to talk about.
That's true. It's a moderator.
And I think the moderator basically makes sure it stays on
I think
point.
so.
It's not to debate the solution, whether we should or we shouldn't. It's a question of the vote
Whether-
around passing it over.
Because conceivably, people might not want to pass it over, right? People hypothetically could decide not to pass it over. Not saying I expect
Yeah.
that, but that is the
It's
process.
a potential outcome, yes.
And then what happens then?
Then we vote. Then we vote on it and probably it would fail by a bigger margin than it did.
But if it passed by 2/3, we could call it special election, single question ballot.
Well, I'd want to know whether we're going to try to get the seniors out for this or not.
Should get them out anyways. Everybody should go
Yeah.
off this.
A lot of them,
Oh, yeah.
they don't drive at
Democracy.
night. I mean, I know that.
Well,
The last time it was in May, it stayed light till.
to be quite honest, I'm on the finance committee and I got a meeting at 7 o'clock. I gotta go.
Okay, well,
We
thank
gotta
you.
decide how we're gonna spend $2 million of free cash. So I think the more people at this special town meeting, because there's a lot of money that's gonna be spent,
Okay,
more people should be there. And in my humble opinion is a lot of these things that people want to buy should wait till an annual town meeting when we have a good turnout of taxpayer. But again, only one man's humble opinion.
I realize all your humble feelings.
anybody else speaking? Somebody else go around, we were gonna go around the table and ask, or anybody who's,
Yeah, let's see who else we have.
Karen's out there.
We have Nick, Nick's out there. I'm not sure who Nick is. Nick, you have any comments?
No, this is Nick from the Finance Committee, and I just
Okay,
wanted
Nick.
to listen and
Sure.
see what you
Karen?
guys think is before our meeting, so.
Okay.
So I appreciate
Karen?
hearing the dialogue.
Okay, Karen, any thoughts?
I'm good so far.
No, I agree. What's been discussed. I thought the campaigns that came in late, it was a lot of good energy. But the numbers didn't go our way. I think they went more, I guess, from last time.
Yeah, we lost.
No, less. Percentage wise, less.
Yeah, no, I wasn't, I was just
Less.
my numbers.
Numbers more, but 4,000 people
Yeah.
voted this time.
4,000
Compared to 1,200 people.
But yeah, I mean, a lot of good responses out there, but. So I think we have to think alternatively and.
Well, we gotta listen to the people. Simple.
Okay,
Karen, anything for you?
Oh, no, nothing other than the fact that I think we are a product of the economy.
Kathy?
Well, I feel bad that we limit it to seniors. I understand what everyone's saying, but it just, if you go back and you're just gonna have it for seniors, then it's always gonna be a problem for people to vote on it. And it's too bad. It can't be, it's too bad that there wasn't more community, like the different groups participating in the meetings and going out to get more people to come to do the stand, with the signs and just participate in it because it matters to them as well.
There's a lot of outside groups that use the center now. And I know Amy would not really want to change that. We love that intergenerational things, We're all part of the same community.
yeah, Ken.
Absolutely, but it's looking like we're forced to. And it's just again, like we say, it's the bottom line. Money is the bottom line.
So
Are there any other departments in town that are similarly situated, that they have a need that perhaps we could consolidate?
Parks and Recs, they have nothing, right? They had their eye on our building.
Well, the library's looking.
I think, Mike, that's what you were suggesting, looking for synergies with requests and projects. I know. Yeah, so, right, the library needs more space for their programming.
Yeah, they really do.
Fire department is also wanting different space allocation. So, I mean, multiple projects potentially, but yeah, I mean, as to Mike Goddard's point, like looking at them sort of as a whole and figuring out if there are those synergies, I think that makes sense. I think I wanted to add, I know I was driving, so I couldn't hear every word as it was coming in, but I guess one question that's brought up is, if a new proposal is just for the seniors, I didn't hear that much of the existing proposal that was just for the community, right? It was, the needs were based on the the senior center's programming and office needs, that the space could also be used for the community, but I don't know what there was that was specifically just for the community.
Well, I mean, to me, the community was more the outreach. That,
Okay,
you know, so community outreach, whether it be
right.
food pantry.
Okay, so food
visiting
pantry,
nursing,
maybe.
things that
I see.
Amy coordinates through the center, but it's not just for seniors, it's for
Everybody. I see.
anybody,
Okay.
right? But I do think it's the social the community outreach portion of the town's, I'll say, safety net.
Like
It's
human-
coordinated
human
out of the seniors.
services, I
Yeah,
guess. Yeah.
correct.
It also gave us the opportunity to expand, which we don't currently have.
Now with just one additional acre. I,
No, I wasn't, I guess my reference wasn't geographic so
Oh.
much as it was.
Make it more than what
Yeah, right.
And, but I mean, I also, to some extent, that's like, the current center is already functioning in that way, that it's called the senior center, but it serves the community.
That's,
So-
it's certainly.
You just have a workshop with an engineer to go through. So I think about Morrison Drive as an example, right? The shell.
Mhm.
What if that was your emergency management center? What if that was just decked out to support, you know what I mean?
Nisco has showers.
Well, still, I mean, that's my point is there's all these possibilities. So you could take the emergency management piece out of this project, put it over here. Now, there may be some additional costs, but your senior community center solution might be smaller, more focused. It might open up different parcels where you could actually put it. You know what I mean? So I just think we've got to go through all the components, break it down and see what the different variations are. You know what I mean?
But we also need insight about, like the library or other places. Do you have enough information about what's coming down the pipeline?
Yes.
Okay, that's an important piece.
I think we'd accelerate some of those things. We got enough to understand what people are
They're about,
thinking about,
yeah,
and we just
we're
get
a year
it.
and a half behind our thinking though, because we know our programming. We know our square footage needs, just for senior operations.
Well, I think when you talk about synergies, though, your square footage needs change because now you've got synergies where the square footage, you got a need here and here. They each have their square footage need. If you put them together, your square footage declines because you don't have 100% utilization of all the space. So,
Okay.
you know what I mean? So I think there's opportunities if we can kind of lay it out and say, and maybe there's no opportunity, but I think this is also one of those due diligence where you can go back to the people and say, hey, we heard you. But guess what? This is still the most cost-effective way to address all of these things. We looked at this, that, and the other thing. And, you know, that doesn't make sense. Or maybe it does make sense.
Are we in a position to drive we're just beginning to look at capital, we're just beginning to look at project visibility. We don't know, and we have a lot of street departmental input. Do we have an organization that can drive such a project that says, okay, what are the needs collectively of multiple departments? Our departments are only beginning to talk to each other.
Well, I mean, I think you need a single point of contact to collect the needs. I mean, the needs assessment's a needs assessment. Each department should understand their needs at a 10,000 foot level. And that's really all you need to kind of understand if there is a connection to do a deep dive on. Make sense?
Yeah, but who's gonna drive that is that Jeremy? Is that the select
Chief
board?
Kersey. Well, no, I think this is the type of thing, I think, in terms of creative solutions that you mentioned, not just financial, but other, we bring back to the select board to say, is this worth pursuing this approach? And can you select board support this and find a way it means to get it done?
And fund it, because you're probably looking at outside resource.
I would think so. And maybe it's outside resources that look at particular aspects, things like land use. I mean, I don't think there are gonna be many other parcels we would even consider.
that's what I was gonna just
Right.
ask you.
So I don't know.
You were saying.
Yeah,
But there's some parcels we haven't fully vetted,
right.
right?
Well, right, I mean, yeah, we need to look at acreage needs potentially for
Wetlands, yeah.
each project. But yeah, there are. Yeah, but there aren't that many like town-owned properties that don't have conservation restriction.
The biggest challenge for synergy is an approach like that is each department saying, I want mine. And not being open to understanding that a solution might be look at Upton. What did Upton?
There's a library, the library.
Absolutely.
You know, that's, but I don't know how that went. You guys talked to him. I don't know if that was, oh yeah, everybody's kumbaya and say, let's do it.
It's sold like that.
What's that?
He told us, Steve Ratkin, he told us it's sold like that. He said the young families were so thrilled to get
No,
library.
How about the different departments? Was the library,
I think,
wanted their own building? Did seniors want their own building? Did?
Driving past opposition signs for that project.
Did
so-
you? Well, I'm
Yeah,
just telling you what he
so we
told us.
haven't even
I'm talking
done
about
it,
just
so-
within the town.
I think within the town,
business,
you had,
right,
I think you had your fiefdoms.
Yeah.
But logically, they had a playground. They had a library,
It's true.
and the senior center was in an old dilapidated building, similar like we are. They said, what the hell, try to get some synergy, and they put that together for $12.8 million
But that was several years.
several years ago, and it's not much larger than the 13.2 we were looking at.
Yeah.
So,
That centrally located parcel that Mendon doesn't really have because we're hilly. We're that hilltop community, right?
oh, but if it's flat, we put it up for conservation.
Well, it's just that land has been sitting up there. I mean, it would be nice to use.
I know, yeah, the
Seriously.
town spent $3 million
I
to
would like
buy
to
that
think it's gonna
land from
open up the
municipal
rest of the-
use.
Be a gateway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to see that set up. That's neither here nor there. But I guess my concern is just a creep, Mike. I think I would love to find synergy and try to participate in some of that from the various departments. But that's a delay, quite a bit of delay. I think so.
So. You have 50% of it's done because the COA
Thanks.
understands what they
You know,
want.
you gotta go. Thank you for coming.
See you at the next one. Next meeting.
Sounds good.
Thanks for coming to the open house too up there. We know you snuck in.
I'll see you on Monday also,
Monday?
special time.
That's important.
I thought you were going Monday to
He has
speak.
2 million reasons to go, he said.
Yeah, exactly.
See you at the finance meeting.
The, and synergy, I think that not every, like, highway and COA are, I think there are very few synergies on its face, right? So you think about human services, there's there are things that, places that clearly have synergies and others that don't. So you could probably eliminate 75% of all departments in the town to say, we're not gonna look at police, we try to build off this building for seniors, right?
You're probably not gonna look at fire and build off of that.
No, but fire might be that location. Maybe that's, if fire wants to expand because they need more room and you've got a shell and we need a place to put emergency management near EMS facility. That might make sense, right?
Maybe emergency medical.
Yeah, but I guess my point is, it's worth, this is a type of a brainstorming discussion.
Right.
That's a meeting with the right people in the room, facilitated. It's not a, and from there you step away and say, oh, there seem to be some connections between A and B, but, and that's it. That's, you explore one.
Now, can this, you've talked about this before, Mike. Can the select board initiate this? Because it can't come out of this committee. I mean, is it, have we talked about it several times?
The select board can do anything, almost.
Except find money.
Hey, we got $2 million we're talking about. We found money.
Thank you, senior center, people who lost the first vote. But you know, that's a good idea. And I think when we do that, we need to also take, there's the needs, but there's also the financial aspect, the question I asked the other night. Are there other creative ways to finance things? I haven't heard the answer to that. If they're not, they're not.
I think a lot of people have asked that question. I mean, we're trying with the federal funding route, but like,
I think he means with some.
Within the town,
I
no.
there is.
I think we can, right, we can reduce the amount creatively, but potentially, but I mean, there's like land sale, but we don't have that much land to sell, right? I mean,
I mean, tax, I'm looking at,
I understand Kevin's suggestion the other night. I would never earmark
right.
potential.
Unless you have a big enough facility, but you don't have.
Well,
You have to
and
explain. I'm not following.
Operations to a
And
point
is anybody
where
else
it's
not following?
it's, yeah, so there's
saturated, like where we want it
a
to be.
warehouse that's going to be where it's expected to have a lot of
The next
time.
generation will see that.
Are you talking about
If
the
you
one
had a-
on gas
That's what we
stove?
do in economic.
I think so.
You had a battery
Yes.
storage facility like
Solar farm.
Hammond Oxford, that's gonna bring in $4 million a year, then you could just, and you don't.
Right, and I think, yeah, also we can't like anticipate revenue until it's actually coming in. We can't like make plans for it. I mean,
Well, as we look at, I guess my question
It's
is,
a success.
my question was broader maybe. If we look at synergy, and I think that's a good point to do that. And if we look at, there's gonna be some implication to debt. And if we look at drop off of debt, somewhere around 2030, 2031, our valley goes pretty low. A steep drop in our debt. Is that the time we should be targeting for a lot of these?
I guess we also have to, we know the schools are going to be coming for capital needs, right? I mean, I know you've been, do you know when?
I think roofs and windows will be this spring at a minimum. They're talking about the whole recreational complex up there for the fields, the turf field. That may or may not be coming. They don't know if they want to put it forward as a joint with roofs and windows or not. My recommendation is not to do that. And I think the roofs and windows are gonna come with sort of the MA, we'll probably do the same BVT did in terms of, I'd say, make it dependent on getting that grant money, which could be, 40 to 50% of the cost if you look at past grants. So yeah, I expect something. I hesitate. I hesitate to slow things down with this eye towards this debt drop off. You don't know what's gonna happen in 5 years. We might have every culvert in Mendon may go up. We may, you know what I mean?
I talked to Phil about this today. It's too dangerous anyways. Once it drops off and you don't fill it. Now, every time you go for that project, it's more expensive.
I think
Because you gotta fit back, fill
what
back.
we have to do is make sure people understand where what we want to manage to in terms of debt load. And even if we're below it, I mean, the line where we have it on the most recent charts probably has to go up a little in the sense that given the size of the town, the wealth of the town, et cetera, I'm sure there's some percentage. I've asked Jeremy this, is there this target you should have based on, and that line's got to move up a little. We got to manage it falls off. But I also think you got to understand that things are going to go up and come back down. I don't think you delay things just to stay beneath this arbitrary line of debt load. You demonstrate it's managed over a horizon.
I hate to lose the CPA approval things up there. We were gonna have trails.
I mean, you haven't lost anything there.
No, I understand that, but if we're talking about relocating somewhere else, we're gonna lose that. We will, the seniors will lose that.
Unless the relocation has space where you could put trails in, right?
Wouldn't it be a whole new project then with?
Right, I mean, it would need new approval because it was location based.
You have to put it back in.
Yeah,
But
the excavation of the building was gonna do the work.
You're expecting
Actually-
to get reelected, I'm assuming.
No, actually,
Yes.
actually, some of that stuff could go back to some other recreational needs that I think this town has been talking about. The other committee forms a need for recreational activity, that $200,000 for a couple of pickleball courts and things potentially put into recreational fields or things that are needed now rather than later. Not the complex, but if they can identify that, team get going.
Can I ask what kind of, where the parcels are that you're thinking of? Thanks.
I'm gonna do that.
Like, if we had to go to another parcel.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like we explored them. I mean, I think the only part I think what we haven't now is figured out, okay, this is a parcel that's in use. Is this the use?
The best use.
The best use for it. And I think, so like, we haven't considered that. And I really don't know, like, I
I think if it's a standalone, like it's the same project, like standalone, no synergies or anything, it's of the parcels we've already looked at. And I think I would relook at the current parcel to say, how does that get reworked, especially if we go down Mike's path of a simple box? Right?
What is the chances of obtaining more land down there, even if it was another
Well,
acre? Because the town does have more acreage.
right, I think we'll need to ask, like, I
Then
mean,
you
I
could go.
think there's some investigation, right? I mean, I don't know like where the conservation restriction is and like, you know, we already ran into it, that if you need to reverse a conservation restriction, it's a process. But if this is something that the town needs to do at some point for some future project, even if it's not the senior center, then, I mean, we at least need to ask those questions. So I don't know. I mean, like my understanding was that the land was purchased with CPA money, and so it had to have a conservation restriction, and so then it had to have the limited uses that the CPA funded,
Which land are you referring to now?
the one behind the current center, because so that can be used
There's
for,
water back there, I believe.
there's water, but there's also like because it was purchased with CPA money, it can be used for affordable housing, for passive recreation, for active recreation. And I believe those are the uses, unless I'm missing one here.
Pickleball courts and walking trails go on the land that's not.
That's true.
Right?
That's true,
If
that
you go on the conservation land, you just.
trails
expand
could
it
go
for
back there.
building.
Well, and then another question is there any land that is part of like the highway department that could be added on to, since like, I don't know, right? You
Even
know,
if you shared a parking lot.
right, so they said, right, I don't think we've looked at it that way, right? The highway department is there, they have their needs,
Right.
but I don't think that anybody's evaluated those two things together and with, yeah, and you're right, that land could potentially be for pickleball courts and trails.
I think in all of this thought process with reusing the existing center, a primary consideration needs to be made to the fact that the facility will be out of commission for 18 months.
Right,
That long.
right, oh, I agree.
And those services will need to be relocated, so we have to put, I think, a good amount of thought into what happens to those things, those services, once they get disbanded.
Well, as Nick said, they might,
Come back.
no, they may be farmed out right from the start. I'm looking at you.
Mike made no promises here.
Mike,
Yes,
Mike,
I agree with your point. Absolutely, you gotta think,
Yeah.
and that's part of the, to me, it's like, once you look at it and say, okay, this could work for this scope, and then the next question is, how do you deal with the rest and the downtime and.
But the thing is,
Exactly.
once you touch that building.
Right.
You have to tear it apart.
Right, once you, right, because, yeah, to get
It's
it
not
up to code, right.
It's not to code. So I think ultimately, based on my experience, it could be not using the space that would be the most efficient, and having it cost the same or slightly, very slightly less than building a new site that would provide an opportunity
I
for
think the
expansion.
numbers came, Mike, the architect, that kind of indicated, well, it won't cost much less to do it. But he was also going with the design of something more similar to what we're, the solution, as opposed to give me a box,
Right,
right?
so
Let's try to find middle ground.
Don't
Where
want-
is-
Yeah.
is there a?
I'll be in the coffin soon enough.
Is there a way in which a like new smaller building could be built to have it be sort of like a campus, like a small building for somebody, rather than a single building?
I
With
think
senior center,
we talked about that briefly, or Mike did before you came in, having, even if we continue to use the North Avenue site, look at that as opposed to the senior community center, view it from the standpoint of having it be a campus,
right,
one building here, one building
right,
there.
but I guess okay, I think I did hear like a little bit about that, but I'm wondering about like where the current site is. Well, so like what's needed for the current senior center, one thing that's needed is a large meeting room, right? And I wonder if, so a small freestanding building, if it's nearby, like, I'm just wondering, like, would that reduce the cost because it wouldn't need to be, you wouldn't need the fire suppression because it's a freestanding building of, say, 2,000 square feet?
Depends on the population. It's not based on square footage, it's based on occupancy.
Okay.
So I think you'd have the same occupancy
I
go.
thought it was like 7,000 square.
No, it goes on the type of building and occupancy.
Okay.
So if you have a building that can hold 125 people,
Okay, it still has to have the fire suppression, even if it's smaller, okay.
That's a question. Are you able to answer regulatory questions like that if we were to start to brainstorm? No,
It was amazing the way you threw your
In
voice
all
like that,
seriousness,
Karen.
how much thought can we ideas can we kick around with some level setting of feasibility before we bring in professional services like an architect to say, you need 7,000 square foot, you
Well,
need
I think
fire
that's very
suppression.
feasible. And I think of the place that we start is back.
I'm all, Mike and I are just go,
He's a big fan, so
you've done this for a lot of years.
From a holistic standpoint, the first thing that needs to happen is you need to give a group some idea of if there is some sort of synergy. What can we consolidate? And what would those needs be? From there, then we take a really good hard look at the existing center. We already know what the program requirements are. But how better could we take those program requirements and make them more efficient? And then combining those two and then coming up with a focus or a driver to go towards. So my previous role was with a quasi-government agency. I've got no experience with the state. But I do have government experience.
Probably.
That's better than what I have, so. that's-
You probably could interpret things
Right.
more quickly than some of
Raise
the rest of
questions,
us.
right? We gotta check on, we gotta look into that at a state level, because if it was federal, that
Well,
would.
federal trumps state.
No, but I guess my point, to your point is, you're not familiar with the local
No.
state issues.
Not at all.
But you could point out possible trouble spots that we should get into, right?
Yeah. I believe I can help.
I think from a program standpoint, we might need to look at it and say, of that 84% utilization, right? Of all the programs being offered, you might have to prioritize, like, we
Yes.
can't do 100% of everything we want to do.
There are
but
things, if you look at the existing, our existing proposed building.
Right.
From a standpoint of programming in either a federal agency or the private sector, you're gonna look from a standpoint of not, this is nice to do.
Yeah.
You look at it from a realistic standpoint. You look at people's position descriptions. You look at how often would this be used and to what extent and what flexibilities can be offered if you do it in another forum, even if it's within the same space.
I mean,
So there's some hard decisions that are.
Yeah, I mean, I would simplify it even more so to say, at a minimum, we want to be able to offer seniors lunch 5 days a week.
Yeah.
Right? That, if nothing else, that's what we want to do. That has some requirements around it. At the lowest, we could do away with possibly two similar types of exercise classes being offered,
Simultaneous.
right? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
We might have to break down and set up in the same room a couple times a day, which would reduce the needed space.
Footprint.
I think we need to go through the program now and kind of understand sort of the must-haves versus nice to have. And the feedback I got on like the pickleball courts and all the recreation stuff, even though that was part of, that's all night, somebody said to me, why did you even bring that up? That has nothing to do with the senior center. I'm like, well, it has something to do with the community center. But I mean, the more we can identify must versus, because people are gonna do that to us anyway. They're gonna say, do you really need that? That seems like a nice to have to me.
But that wasn't even part of the cost.
No.
And we tried to make that clear.
No, take pickleball aside. I'm talking about the utilization and the programming, the expanded programming.
Mhm.
That's driving your space requirements based on my understanding.
It was for a community center.
Right.
And for the senior activities too.
So I just think we gotta be able to have like maybe bands or tiers of, we can't live without this. And I think,
That needs to be part of program. That's all
Right.
part of the program.
In your experience on how difficult is it to get that done? for something to scale, because it's pretty large, it's a different program.
It's organization and deductive reasoning. If you can take out the emotional component of it, which is difficult,
Okay.
but once you take out the emotional component of it and look at it from an organizational standpoint, it's black and white.
And who would you need to drive that with you as input?
Well, Amy should have input.
You should,
Amy
Phil.
has to have,
I'm looking for delegate.
Amy has to have input.
Absolutely, there's no question about it. Amy's a key element.
Yeah, no, she would be a driver in this, certainly. But whoever else would be involved, once you look at this holistically and see what else is needed, then that group would also be a player. Okay, meeting's adjourned.
Yeah, the only, we can go back to the next steps for this committee. I mean, we're gonna go to the vote. Some people may want to express some comment. They should be brief. I don't think we should belabor it. And the big message is the need's still there.
So you speaking to the town meeting?
Yeah, town meeting.
Is that a select board article?
It is.
And so, I mean,
I mean, probably it'll be me moving to pass it over.
right.
And it's, yeah,
That's what we thought.
Dave, we haven't heard from you.
I think you guys got a lot of it. Phil and I had some ideas. We talked to Mike last week, the architect, and I don't know.
oh, you did. Okay, I was, yeah.
Yeah, we had a conversation.
Yeah.
Friday afternoon, was it Friday?
Friday.
Thursday, or Thursday?
Well,
Thursday, I think it was. So,
Did he have any ideas?
we kind of just went off of an idea that I threw to Phil. I don't know if he really loved it or not, or we'll see.
your floor.
So my idea right away, the next day, was to go, we've already exhausted our sites. I think even if we make it smaller, we've exhausted the sites. I think that's redundancy. I don't think we need to look at sites. There's no new sites that we are unaware of. The current sites are the sites. I don't think we need to reinvest at Morrison for the senior center. We put a lot of effort into that, and it's just not built up to code, built up to standards. The money we invest in it doesn't make sense. The location's horrible. I think we're still down to 2 locations, the original location with a reno rebuild, and then North Ave. And my idea was to try to put some money into a new design, look back at the original designs to redo the original senior center, and let's put a real cost on that. Let's do a cost analysis. Let's look at the septic system. Let's look at the parking. Let's look at the engineering, because that could serve 2 purposes. One, it'll give us a cost of what it's really going to cost to do that, so we have comparable. 2, if we decide not to move in that direction there, we have the site design for the next building that we will put there and utilize. So
It's a reuse.
the reuse plan. But then we have a solid number, and I tend to believe that number is still going to be to add a minimal addition, fix the parking, fix the septic, fix the site, is still going to be $7 to $9 million. I think there's no question about that. But if we have that number and it's done with a cost analysis from an outside firm, not from Mike, just like he did with the current building, then we have a comparable, and we have 6 months till May to work that comparable and redesign the North Ave building. Because I think if you, I'm just throwing stupid numbers out there, say we may build a 4,000 square foot building there for a redesign. It's not new construction, it's going to be a remodel. I think for the same exact money that we invest there, we can show a comparison. We probably get 6,000 square feet there. Not saying those are the actual numbers, but you're probably getting 1.5 times whatever you can do there. But people don't have that number. They're saying, fix that up, throw a little money in it. I've heard, oh, throw 5 million into it, throw 4 million into it.
Right.
Well, let's give the real number, not from us, not from our architect, from an independent firm. And it's almost like a buffet. You choose at this point. We can put $8 million into that site and get, 75 to 60% of the building we can get there. We can redesign this building and maybe make a $7 to $9 million building there. But like Mike said, we take a number and we have to build around it. So that's when the needs comes in, and what do we need? And then build on from that. But then we also have to sell that option too, that, okay, we'll put the same money to this, we're gonna get a building 1.5 times the size. We're opening up that site now for future municipal use, so we're laying the groundwork for that. And then there's also a value of the building that's left behind, and we really need to put a value on that too. If we're gonna save $2 million by combining highway and letting highway use that, then we need to put it all together in a package. How we do it, I'm not exactly sure. It was just my idea and to move forward.
I think you could move forward.
But I think,
Sounds familiar.
I think if you have that number from the other building, I mean, it's an exercise that
Yeah.
I think is necessary. We have to do. We need, and then it's an option too.
I agree. I mean, if I could go back in time, we would actually have had full presentations on multiple options to like, not that we would present it to the voters as a buffet style, but like have those options. I think it's a shame that the original proposals didn't, like the bigger ones didn't get looked at, because I think people always do this comparison, right? So they see a big number and they think that's the biggest number there is, and they didn't realize that the original proposal was actually even bigger, that this was already scaled back, that we'd already done all this process of scaling it back.
I think if you look at the two, the only thing we'll need to come to you for dollars for engineering.
Talked about in our last meeting.
Yeah.
I think that's.
Okay.
I think there was basic agreement that we needed to, we were gonna take the adaptive reuse money, roll that in, we got some ARPA left over. I think
And we're gonna hopefully Mike's getting us
next
next, right?
agenda.
Mike,
So what we just claimed, Mike's gonna get us a quote at least.
except
So
for
it's
the,
something you can look at. So I didn't want to go too far with it.
Talk to Jeremy. You know,
I did talk to him, yeah.
except for
he's
the,
aware.
Yeah, he's aware of it. He mentioned the same 25,000 for reuse that we have there, and then additional funds. he thought-
Is that one of the things that are on
Okay, okay.
the forward too?
The,
Oh, there was something that mentioned it, senior center.
oh,
It's like towards the end.
but that
Well,
was.
spec.
Well, I mean,
So we gotta do the engineering piece of that as well. Which
Was
is,
it reuse?
I
Was it
think that look at
reuse?
synergies too, but that's.
I think so, yeah.
Select
But-
board needs
hang on, I
say
have
that
to-
there are things.
Oh, no, that was the redesign, that
Makes
there's
sense, possible to look at.
the
I think it
the
makes
work
sense.
that's already been done for the new design, we have to pay the architect. So like the way,
I see.
like that money has to come.
Engineering piece.
That's fine, and whatever Mike's doing there.
Yeah, that has to pass then.
Another alternative, so you've.
If
listed
it doesn't
two.
pass,
Third.
then there's ARPA money,
That
but then
would
it
be
means that the
next
ARPA money
Can't go to
goes somewhere
somewhere
else. So, yeah.
But my.
So that's why we're like a little
Yeah,
bit like
that site has some.
waiting to see town meeting
So other
when
engineering.
it gets passed, and then
I mean, I'm trying to look at
It's so tough.
voting numbers. So obviously, we know
It really is.
we get close to 50% that are fine the way it is. I think if you look at the bell curve, you're gonna get that end, that no matter what you do, there's no's. And let's call it 20-30%. You're always gonna get that. It's gonna be 20-30. So what we're focusing on is that 20% that is no, but is vocal about it, saying, well, why can't we just have a senior center? Why can't we invest in there? So they at least are showing interest that they care about the seniors and want a senior center. They just don't have enough information still. And those are the ones that you need to kind of sway and then find out, the 181 who didn't vote even, those type of people.
Yeah, to not vote at all for that.
So,
Yeah.
but I mean, we got close to this time. And I mean, I know 72 is bigger than 51 of it, but
smaller percentage.
specifically
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
It's
4% to 1%.
4% to less than 1%. So we did our job, but you look at those 181 that voted nothing, they probably just came up for the presidential election and they didn't really know one way or another.
Or didn't look at the second page, didn't look at the back.
Oh, good point.
But there's so many
Really good
things.
about mine, you look
Yes,
at
they
that.
did.
I know.
I'll back up Barbara in that.
But then we got messed up with the political message too, because I told you what I heard from some of the politicians when they were saying, hey, vote your presidential and then vote yes for question one and no for the rest. And we were
Oh, I didn't hear that.
right after the rest. There were a lot of politicians that were saying no, all the questions after the first. It was yes and all no's. But they're doing it statewide.
Right, so we didn't realize we had a sixth question.
Right, and other towns did as well, so it was very inconsiderate of them to.
Who was
I didn't know that. Some politicians.
Some of the people running, the politicians who didn't want the other questions
They
to
didn't
go.
want, they
You
didn't
know,
want,
they wanted to get one, it seems like there were a consensus, most of them wanted one to be yes and the rest to be no,
in the political realm.
the political realm. So they spread the
Not in
word.
people, not in the people realm.
Yeah.
Okay, so where do we go here from here, guys? Gonna do some study work?
But yeah, I mean, we gotta agree on funding it, right? So we probably should better have the agenda. Our select board meeting.
Yeah.
Tomorrow,
What's that?
a week from tomorrow, right?
Yes. Figures, right, as soon as next week.
Yeah, just have an
Yeah.
agenda item,
Next week.
probably an update from this meeting saying, you know, maybe saying we're thinking after our last discussion, seems like looking at alternatives is direction that we want to do, so we need
Right.
money.
Right, especially, looking at the current site, getting that.
The sidebar
Okay.
that you
I
guys
think
have,
this
we're
was
looking at.
Focus.
Yeah.
Construction, we're looking at engineering and environmental. For the new site, I mean, for the old site, the current
Yeah,
location.
to get that.
We have to do that.
So there's funding for that, I guess that's.
That's what we're
That's-
gonna
yeah.
talk about, so like,
So
we'll,
it's-
Mike's one piece with it. There's a
We
bunch
could
of-
quote from Mike and we can bring it to you next week. and then-
Are we leaving the design at North Ave the same, or are we looking to redesign?
No, I
North
think
Ave?
North Ave's a redesign. period.
Pretty
Okay, so this.
Based on the study
Yeah,
at the current center, you know, the cost of it, not the size of it, because again, if we can build 4,000 there at a reuse or remodel, a new construction, let's see, what would that cost? Could we get 6,000 square feet and open up that site at the same price there? I think if people saw that difference, then that can make a difference in there too. And then
it's
knowing we can
just
reuse that building.
Just senior center we're talking now.
no. not
No,
necessarily.
I think you still can call senior community, but say that it's shifted to be the majority senior, but we don't want to.
Yeah, if we need to move other functions somewhere else, then we do that based on the size and the effort to put something on the current line, et cetera. What I don't want to do is necessarily say it's one thing or the other at this point. I just think.
Just call it the Mendon Center.
right, yeah,
Exactly,
that's
amending thing.
what I like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah, because I mean, I heard both sides, I heard like, don't push the senior center, and I heard, don't push the community center.
Right.
Like,
I heard don't.
heard both, so it's, yeah, we push both of those out, we just call it the Mendon Center, like,
Well, at the end of the day, we have 50-50 almost votes, so that's what you're getting, 50-50 impacts.
yeah.
But we also need to do a look at the reprogramming as we go through this. Because we can build a box that's 4,000, 6,000, 8,000, but it's gotta be able to support.
At minimum, critical, good to have, nice to
Yeah.
have, just so that homework is done, so you can kind of
And then
figure it out.
if we dedicate this, I know you could go in May with the regular elections. I think you dedicate it, even if it's June, even if it's April, you dedicate, we pay the extra money, you dedicate it to its own ballot. So there are no blanks. People are going there just for the
Well,
senior center.
I think there is an advantage there that both times we had a deadline that we were working towards, and we didn't have the numbers from the architect until late.
Before.
Right, so there was a rush, and it would be nice to wait till we have all the numbers and then set the dates based on that.
I'd like to push the architect to get us the numbers in the time that we need them, We're paying them good money. But I'm not
Right.
against that.
Well, yeah,
I'm
but
not
it's
actually
just-
for a special election.
Twice it happened, it felt like we were really rushing, and
Yeah,
I mean, we
I agree.
were, like,
We know,
I don't want to do that again.
we know more than we did
Exhausted.
before.
Yeah.
We know a lot more than we did before. We know a lot more about the
I
program.
would just like to put the appropriate pressure on somebody who's paying good money to deliver data when we need it, not when it's convenient. Not saying it's convenient, but there was vacation time away in the middle of this last go around. We lost about 4 to 6 weeks, I think, somewhere in there.
Right.
I think we're much clearer on our requirements now and being very specific. And I think, yeah, the engagement too with Mike, that's gonna be, we gotta take the emotion out of those discussions with the architect. Make sure he understands specifically the absolute needs and, you know, the criticality and things like that.
Have a good call.
So you just on the 18th, you pass over,
Number 5.
Yeah.
but procedurally, does that allow for debates or not?
Uh,
Yeah.
discussion,
discussion.
yeah,
So anyone can stand up and speak
Right.
to whether they agree to pass over or
Right.
not, but the people presenting the article, making the motion, we're making the motion to pass over.
Which
And
is,
then if that motion gets voted down, we'll vote on the article.
and
Whether that has any outcome to it, doesn't matter.
it'll be up to the moderator to decide how many people get to
Yeah.
get to talk, sorry, long day.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so, I mean, I know that's happened before where the moderator will say like, okay, after these next two people, we're done, so because.
If there's no new information,
Right, so I mean, it's,
posture, that's like, no new information.
but, yeah, there is at least some room for, I mean, yeah. So usually what will happen is someone will make a motion, someone will second it, and the moderator will say discussion. Usually the person who made the motion will start off the discussion, and then the moderator will typically say any further discussion.
I would even suggest that if people to say, when is no, if there's sort of that sort of discussion, I might even suggest say, push that to a select board meeting. Join us in the select board meeting. Happy to have that discussion, just not on the floor. And we can even set the moderator up to put it in that direction. When you take that sort of debate off the floor and say, come join us and explain your position.
The problem is there's just so much apathy for participation in this town. You look at the two meetings that you
Right.
had that, and you put your heart and soul into that. There was so much valuable information. And the first meeting, we had 2 people come, and the second one, we had 2 people come.
For the same two people.
No,
All right.
but one of them was.
Double it up. That's 100% increase, right?
It
But,
did
you know,
21 views.
Yeah, and you can't, it didn't matter on any of our communications, how much we told people, this is where the information is available, please come to the meetings. Nobody bought, I mean, there's just such a high level of apathy. And so many people with opinions based on hearsay, not on fact.
That sounds really familiar.
Yeah, the interesting thing is, I think we'll have to also, maybe by May, if the economy shifts in a different direction, because I think people are really, they are really struggling. At the end of the day,
I agree. The economy from a vibe and feel standpoint, people feel it. The economy is pretty strong right now. I'm not sure if the recognition of that is going to come through.
I guess the thing is, it's the. how
The
much
cost
money
of
spent-
living.
Cost,
The cost of living is.
the
is
economy, I think, is
increased.
in great shape. I think the problem is somebody's gonna go buy milk, eat bread and eggs, and it's really still expensive. And their
Yeah.
salaries haven't changed.
But the price of the building is just increasing.
Oh,
In
yeah,
other words,
no,
it's
it's
just
just
gonna
going
increase. Yeah.
exponentially. Every month we wait.
Yeah, if we, yeah. As I plotted out the years, it takes roughly, $597,000 with the existing building we're looking at a year. So $600,000 a year at 5% interest, inflation rate. So
It's good that it's not 5% inflation rate.
Could be.
Could be, but it's not. That's sort of the conundrum.
it's the prevailing wages that'll get you.
Okay.
Massachusetts.
Can we have next
Next
steps?
step.
I'm really not clear on next steps.
Thank you, Hon, I need to.
No,
So one next step is the select board will have on the agenda about funding. I mean, is a funding for a study to get a full, I guess, a full cost analysis of an expansion to the current site. Is that
including engineering.
included, right?
Yeah, that's-
Design, engineering, parking, like all the parts,
We're looking
right?
at alternative solutions, either at the current site or the new site from a design standpoint. And possibly look at, I think the select board needs to look at possible synergies across the capital
Right.
program to say, is there
Right.
other opportunities?
And if there's any other land available that the senior center could have, we do have
Right,
one
well,
additional
well-
acre.
There really isn't,
There isn't?
not unless you look
Well,
at synergies.
Right, synergies maybe, but like, I don't know, yeah. We should at least ask the question about that plot. I mean, it looks like like the way the assessor's map has it, it looks like it's the same land for highway and the senior center.
I think it's,
And so like, I'm not super clear on that, but I do know that, isn't there like a leach field for?
You sit down with Isabella too.
Yeah, anyhow, so, right, so we can certainly, we will ask the question.
Okay.
We don't expect a different answer, but we will ask the questions and make sure there hasn't been something overlooked. So that's two next steps, both of which involve the select board. But you're also gonna get a proposal from the architect about what this analysis would be for the current site?
what it would cost to
What it
do.
would- Right, because I mean, what the amount is that will be asked of the select board.
The piece that I don't have, and I can reach out to DNL, who did the engineering. So, because we need an engineering team to map in there too. So we need somebody to look at exactly what you're saying, because there's a lot of wetland things we need to worry about there. But I'm sure we can build there, plus that acre, if we need to move into that acreage, we can get DNL, whoever we used the last time. So I need a cost from him. My biggest concern there's the alignment to the septic system, because that's where the school drains. And also,
And that might be some of the restriction on that land use there. So my guess is that's what it is. Like when you look at it on the map, it looks like a lot, but of actual usable, buildable land, I think
and that's all on the engineering side.
Right.
I'll
So
see,
we need those answers because people ask us like, why not? Or
Right,
I think we should have an action item, look at the programming, future programming, understand the different tier and criticality. Because whatever comes back is probably gonna be small, right?
Programming from the standpoint of the senior center.
That whole 84% utilization
Mhm.
matrix, just so that.
all right. You're gonna take that on with Amy? I'm just asking, no, because I'm out of my element here. I don't know anything about that stuff.
Yeah, no, yes.
All right, I will,
Thank you.
I'll
Thank you, Karen.
get her.
might help.
A bulletproof vest?
I can,
Yes,
good cop, bad cop, you know, if you'd like, I can join the discussion.
sure. The more the merrier.
okay, anything else?
No.
And then from the standpoint, to Mike's point, I think the seniors want to be there just to listen to what's going on in town business. It's good. Even though the things getting passed. I understand they don't like to travel, but
I guess I do have a technical question. We're voting to pass on the warrant. The discussion that the seniors would bring, and perhaps people on this committee would bring, would be probably more emotional from so I guess my question is, it is, I think, productive for a lot of these people to have an opportunity to vent, and they did to you last week. But is that the venue,
Right. I mean, because the discussion should be around
the warrant?
whether or not to pass over the article
Yeah.
specifically.
Yeah.
And so like it probably a lot of emotion is not, I mean, unless people are arguing that we should vote on it.
Right.
Or right. Because, X, Y, and Z.
They could argue not to pass over the motion to pass over,
Mhm.
because I want to vote on the actual article that's on the warrant I received.
Mhm.
And they could say, if we pass that, then they could ask the question, could we have a special ballot? That would be, then the water will say,
Right.
can somebody else answer the question? Would there be it? And then somebody could stand up and say, we could actually, if it passes, we could then have a special ballot on the same solution. And that might,
Or I don't know if anybody's talked about it, but I mean, hypothetically, someone could move for a different number. Right? There's nothing in the article about a number. Like, I'm not saying they should, but like hypothetically, somebody could
make a motion.
make a
with
motion
specific number.
with a specific number,
You could
but
change
that
it.
number wouldn't be based on any
And they could
specific
say, I
proposal.
want to amend the the motion
Yeah,
because the motion for the actual article would have a number in it.
right, and that
So-
would not have come through yet.
Right, first you'd have to defeat the vote to pass over, which the select board would be putting forward. And then they say, okay, that did not pass. Now we're gonna vote on the actual article that was
Mhm.
defeated at the election. And then somebody could amend the motion to say,
Right.
instead of 13.2, I want to change the number to $6 million, and that could pass. And then we would have to have a ballot election, and then we'd have to design a building for. So I mean, there's a lot of places this could go.
You know,
So,
actually, if you tee it up correctly, but this is still has a need, right, for the reason for passing. I don't think you'll have much comment at all. I mean, people may want to. Because what is the reason for passing? Because it didn't.
Passing it over.
Yes,
The reason for passing it over would be that it didn't pass at the ballot, and so the town is going to go back to the drawing board and come up with another solution.
So you would in fact say,
yes,
I could, yes, so
so I think that would be an important comment and would probably then mitigate some
There's
of the.
comments, I think, at that point, at least, I would say.
I think we haven't, I mean, we talked around a little bit in the last meeting, but I think the board probably is gonna say, yeah, we want to make sure people understand there's still a need and it's not going away. This project continues, just in maybe in a different form.
Yeah, if that message comes across, I don't think you get much comment.
We heard the will of the people.
Yeah.
But the problem is still there, so we're gonna go back to the drawing board.
and I mean, the will of the people is also that almost half of the people wanted this, so.
Right.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not as though it's like, yeah,
Right, so I think, because I think if it had like overwhelmingly failed, that would be a different
Right,
question.
it wasn't a resounding defeat.
No.
It was a squeak by.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it was postured that way. The select board recognizes the need still there.
So I will
We'll go back.
discuss with, the wording of the motion to pass over, so like, just make sure that like, I don't know, I know Karis looks over our motions in general, so like, but I guess it would not be the motion would be to pass over, and then it's just the discussion.
yeah.
And
And
so
anybody
like,
can add,
right,
you
so,
know.
We're gonna-
I guess that would
Right.
be, if, if I'm making the motion, that would be my discussion point.
Yeah, and I think
That,
that,
the town is gonna go back to the drawing board and come up with a new proposal that,
I think that it'll be voted on to pass over, because I think we like to pass over things.
I think
If we have
so.
to make a hard decision, we'll pass over,
Right.
we're good.
no, I'm not worried about it now. I don't think anybody's gonna say, go ahead and vote for it. You're not gonna,
but, right, it could happen, but
I don't see the committee.
Would still need 2/3 anyway,
it would,
so
it would.
that's tough. That's tougher than getting.
The voters did say no. Marginally, but they said no. So we gotta listen. to them. We have to do a redesign. We have to rethink the strategy. But the need hasn't gone away. And I question the priority is.
When's our next meeting? When do you want to have our next meeting?
2 weeks.
Okay, the 26th. Gonna be here?
Yep, and in 2 weeks, let's do it we would have input back from the select board. Because we were given your proposal from Monday,
I think this is a Tuesday before Thanksgiving.
after Thanksgiving. How's that?
No, he's right. You're right. It's Tuesday before Thanksgiving.
Everybody wants to cook and prepare.
What?
He's postponing it a week because of Thanksgiving.
So you want.
Why is he postponing it? The 26th is 2 days before Thanksgiving. You're still having it the 26th?
The 2 days before,
Yeah,
Is that 2
Thanksgiving's the 28th.
we're gonna move it a week.
So the first week in December.
First week.
December 3rd.
Thank you.
My last day of teaching.
Oh,
Is that a good thing or a bad?
Oh, it's good. It just means I still can't get here by 6:30. So, it's like just not
it's
possible.
all right.
But that meeting, we can cover a lot of the things.
I'll do the same thing. I'll,
Yeah.
dial in from the train station.
That gives us programs, it gives us funding,
What do we hope to have done in 3 weeks for the next meeting?
Select board approval to go
Yeah.
ahead and move forward. Preliminary designs, which Dave is driving from the architect. I'll contact the engineering company, get a proposal from them. Programming update of where we're at
With Amy, yeah.
with Amy.
Can we get more frequent updates from a design standpoint? Can we see the thinking? Because it seems like the design goes away and then comes back with a finished product and we're like, oh,
we're doing it backwards.
yeah.
Typically, you go to the architect with a program.
Right.
And he's been dealing with the program that was developed, I don't know how many years ago by Amy.
It was the last committee. It was the last committee. I wasn't on it.
We sent
Yeah.
him the latest program work that you did. Huh? But it's not,
No, that programming didn't have anything to do with his architectural design. His architectural design was based on information that he received from Amy
Right.
when, was it Kevin, whoever did?
Yeah, Kevin Rudd and Earl was on that committee too.
Yeah,
You also worked with Amy and the architect about the.
I think the program was at a very high level. That he kind of brought from that and said, can meet the things I heard.
yeah, it was a reverse engineer.
Yeah, your program, the programming matrix is far more specific now in terms of what the deliverables are. So you gotta kind of bring those two things together now a little bit.
yeah, I think in order for him to come up with a good design, well, logically, how this would happen is we would meet with the client, who is Amy, come up with her needs, and then meet with the architect and say, this is what we absolutely need. And how does it fit in within within X number of what would our square footage requirement be to meet these program requirements?
And
So before, it seems to me you came with this, you had a square footage requirement based on what his inference was from meetings with Amy. And
We'd have the
it
program.
was, yeah, it was just a little bit,
I think the added piece here too, is I think we've got to put sort of some caps on cost. He understands, because he did start earlier on, he was like, how much can you spend? And we're all like, well, we didn't want to put a cap on it. We just said, let the needs drive the cost. I think given 2 votes, we probably should give them a neighborhood of put a cap on the cost, saying we need to something more in this range. Well, we did the last time.
What would
You know
we
what I
be
mean?
thinking, like 7? What would we be thinking, like 7?
Not under 10. I mean, if it was single digits this last time, I bet it would have passed. It was like 9999. Yeah, that number.
well,
Is every-
but logically, what did this police station cost?
I forgot.
This is like
Dave would
7,
know.
6.
Yes.
That was the one, that was years ago.
And it had this, it was a third CPA funded because of this space.
Right.
Okay,
This is
so,
historical.
yeah, you're not dealing with, I mean,
We're dealing with bigger numbers than the town seemingly
yeah.
ever.
Well, I mean,
I guess my point is that we can certainly shoot for 99999, but I don't know how realistic that is. If there's nothing else coming in. Granted, we're dealing with a vanilla box.
Yeah, whenever we went back to Mike, we didn't change the box.
Mm-hmm.
And we went back, you know.
Well, and because everybody was so impressed with the box.
Well, I think it's still a good box.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, though, when he gets it to the estimator, that's why I like the estimates. Is that they put him through the rigors. Mike tends to be too optimistic with his, with
Right.
architecture. Oh, yeah, maybe about $8 million, we could do
right,
that.
I think, yeah, he'd hoped by shrinking the square footage as much as
But
happened.
if you look at it realistically, what it cost versus what he shrunk, his percentage was way off.
But we know what the original cost is. We've got a 13.2 and an 11.9 design. That's solid, right?
So,
So it's not as though we don't know where we're starting from now,
Mhm.
and we need to bring that number down. So, you know,
that's really gonna be programming. So we just need the estimates from the two. Don't execute the two. Estimates for the engineer and from Mike to do a redesign. The programming work needs to get ramped up so he doesn't do a design that doesn't consider what the programming work is. Programming requirements, must-haves.
and I'd be curious to understand what are the highest cost components of the current design? where's the biggest cost? And then, you know, because you say, well, there's fixed costs, so therefore you're not really gonna do anything, but
Big one was on the North Ave site, bringing on,
And
Engineering.
it would be nice if we could do the site work as a separate question. Like, this is town land for future municipal use. We need.
Well, you
A
could
driveway,
do that with the road.
Mhm.
Take the road out and make it separate.
there was a bunch of, I think it was close to $1 million.
It is, yeah.
But-
But I mean, like,
But the
but
town's not gonna.
how do you sell this?
We're gonna say,
No,
what are
you're
you
not
gonna
gonna sell it to
put down there? You know that, Ralph. But anyway,
I have one other thing too. Signs, should I be doing sign pickup?
yes,
yes.
Yeah,
I have been.
I
People have
haven't.
asked me, but I've said wait till after Tuesday's
Okay.
meeting.
thank you.
We did actually get agreement with the planning board to jointly work on rezoning the rest of that parcel for the spring.
To be,
Oh, that'd be excellent.
Yeah.
That'd
to
be,
be mixed use.
So that might justification for access, right?
Mhm.
well, the hope would have been, right, too, is if it's gone further, whoever's developing the corner here,
Mhm.
if they would pick up part of the tab for that access off of North Ave, that parcel down that corner could have had a back driveway out to that North Ave if they would help the further. But we can't do that without a project. Right? I was hoping we went through, the next meeting was to go talk to their architects and see feasibility of connecting those dots by back access.
And that was just a tentative when I attended the planning board.
Mm.
When they wouldn't put it on the November ballot.
Right. Well, I mean, it was on there when the RMID was first
Yeah.
voted on.
Yeah,
Just, it got
they've gone through.
removed in a.
Right.
like,
But they
amendment
agreed
to
in the spring. They all seem for the idea, they just like, it's been shot down twice. I'm like, I don't care. It's like, go back
Right.
again. Makes so much sense.
Right.
Well, the whole thing makes sense if you could put together a map for what that whole area is going to be. But, okay, I think we probably should adjourn the meeting. We're getting into
Getting into the weeds.
the weeds. Any other comments or suggestions? New business?
I'll make a motion to return them.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you all.
Everything went
Mike.